Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Ram. Next one. Yeah.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravatakacharya Suteta Satashi Shimad. His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharshila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravatakacharya also Teta Satashi Shimad. His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Segaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Shaima Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Mathuranam Ki Jai, Navadviputam Ki Jai, Gangamai Ki Jai, Yamunamai Ki Jai, Shrimati Lasi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Can you get a chair from Maharaj?
Yeah. What? For me?
Yeah.
No, I'm going to sit in the back there.
Huh?
I'm going to sit there.
Oh,
That's the chair. Yeah, I know.
Hare Krishna. Welcome back to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. His Grace Anuttama Prabhu will be giving the Bhagavatam class, followed by Prasadam, breakfast Prasadam in the Gauranga Hall, and then our concluding session of the leadership meetings will be from 10 a.m. in the Gauranga Hall. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunya Bihari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Gopi Jana Balava Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Balava Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yamuna Chiravanachari. Yamuna Chiravanachari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Gopi Jana Balava Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Balava Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yamuna Chiravanachari. Yamuna Chiravanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravirajagacharya Asto Tadasadashi Shimad. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravirajagacharya Asto Tadasadashi Shimad. His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Nila Madhava Ki Jai. ISKCON Houston Yatra Ki Jai. ISKCON North American Leaders Conference Ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the sum devotees. All glories to the sum devotees. All glories to the sum devotees. All glories, Shri Shri Guru and Garanga. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Can this go up here? that possible? A little higher? You want to use that? Okay, that'll work. Great. Go from really cool carved wood to plastic, but it works, right? Form should follow function, right? So we're going to read a little bit today from Srimad Bhagavatam. Those of you, the announcement this morning was that Bir Krishna Maharaj was going to give class. I really appreciate that announcement because that way more people come. So I want to thank you all for that. I don't know if they'll be disappointed within the next half an hour, but we'll do what we can. So with your blessings, Maharaj, we'll try to say a few words. So we're going to read Srimad Bhagavatam 1-18. I've been asked to specifically speak about leadership, and no verse was chosen. So I asked a few devotees last night what verses they suggested, and they suggested some different verses. But then I thought of this one and something else that we're going to study in a little bit more depth, hopefully to shed some real light on what it means to be leaders in ISKCON. So 1-18. Nasta prayeshu avadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhavati naistiki Nasta prayeshu avadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhakti bhagavati naistiki Nasta prayeshu avadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. Nasta prayeshu avadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhavati naistiki. Anyone other than the sannyasis like to chant the verse? Nasta prayeshu avadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhakti bhavati naistiki. Any ladies other than the Vaishnavi ministry Acharya? Nasta prayeshu avadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya word meanings. Nashta, destroyed. Prayeshu, almost to nil. Abhadreshu, all that is inauspicious. Nityam, regularly. Bhagavata, Srimad Bhagavatam, or the pure devotee. Sevaya, by serving. Bhagavati, unto the personality of Godhead. Uttama, transcendental. Shloke, prayers. Bhakti, loving service. Bhavatiti, comes into being. Naistiki, irrevocable. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. So you can all see it on the screen, so let's read it all together in unison, okay? By regular attendance in the classes on the Bhagavatam. Purport by Prabhupada. Here is the remedy for eliminating all inauspicious things within the heart, which are considered to be obstacles on the path of self-realization. The remedy is the association of the Bhagavatas. There are two types of Bhagavatas, namely the book Bhagavata and the devotee Bhagavata. Both the Bhagavatas are competent remedies, and both of them, or either of them, can be good enough to eliminate the obstacles. Anybody ever feel you have some obstacles in your spiritual life? So pay attention. The solution is here. A devotee Bhagavat is as good as the book Bhagavat, because the devotee Bhagavat leads his life in terms of the book Bhagavat. And the book Bhagavat is full of information about the personality of Godhead and His pure devotees, who are also Bhagavatas. Bhagavat book and person are identical. The devotee Bhagavat is a direct representative of Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. So, by pleasing the devotee Bhagavat, one can receive the benefit of the book Bhagavat. Human reason fails to understand how by serving the devotee Bhagavat, or the book Bhagavat, one gets gradual promotion on the path of devotion. But actually, these are facts explained by Srila Narada Dev, who happened to be a maidservant's son in his previous life. The maidservant was engaged in the menial service of sages, and thus he also came into contact with them. And simply by associating with them and accepting the remnants of foodstuff left by the sages, the son of the maidservant got the chance to become the great devotee and personality Srila Narada Dev. These are the miraculous effects of the association of Bhagavatas. And to understand these effects practically, it should be noted that by such sincere association of the Bhagavatas, one is sure to receive transcendental knowledge very easily, with the result that he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. The more progress is made in devotional service under the guidance of the Bhagavatas, the more one becomes fixed in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The message of the book Bhagavat, therefore, the messages of the book Bhagavat, therefore, have to be received from the devotee Bhagavat, and the combination of these two Bhagavatas will help the neophyte devotee to make progress on and on. Jai Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Padastaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Bicharane Nirvasesha Shinivadi Pashtatari Satarnane. Sometimes before a Bhagavatam class, I like to meditate on a Christian musician, I don't even know his name, who sang a song, and I think the title is Lord, Steal My Show. And he sings something like, the lights are coming on and the stadium's full and the people are all anxious to hear me sing, but Lord, steal my show. It's a very devotional mood, which is like, this is about you, Krishna. It's not about him singing or any of us singing or speaking or doing what we do. It's, Lord, it's your show. This is your show, so make it a good one, Krishna. So I want to thank everybody for allowing me to have your association. This is a very august assembly. As somebody who's been coming to these meetings for probably, I don't know when we started, probably 30 or 40 years of these meetings. Do you remember Bhaddi and Ryan Swami? I mean, at some point in time, the GBC just met, and then everybody met, and then we split up, and then we came together, and this is a long, decades. 1980. So 80, 85, so that's 1980, 45 years, yeah. Some of you will be here for the next 45 years. Some of us won't be. So in the mood that I don't know how many years longer I'll be able to be in this association, I really appreciate it. Dronacharya Prabhu, our president of Philadelphia Yatra and the chosen president representative to the NARGB this morning, mentioned he was really feeling how fortunate he is to be in this assembly. He was reflecting what Bhaddi and Ryan Swami spoke about yesterday in his class about how fortunate we are all to be here, and it's true. We're all very fortunate to be here, so thank you for allowing me to be here. Sometimes we don't realize it. Sometimes we don't realize how fortunate we are. I mean, we're all problem solvers. As far as a leadership meeting, it means solving problems, right? That's what you do all day long. You solve problems. And as we heard from Raghunath Prabhu, we should at least spend 20%, not just dealing with the problems of the whirlwind, but trying to do some planning for the positives. But that also means 80% of the time we're solving problems, right? So sometimes we don't realize how fortunate we are, except when because we get caught up solving problems means you have to think about the problems. You have to think about somebody's shortcomings, somebody's challenges, so-and-so doesn't get along, so-and-so's not willing to surrender, cooperate. It's like you fills your brain with these things. And sometimes it's easy to stop thinking how fortunate we are until you find yourself, for whatever reason might be there, without the association devotees. And it's almost like a comic strip, like, you people really think about stuff like this? This is really what you talk about? You're really concerned about these things? We talk about these things too in the Bhagavatam class about how foolish they are. But you're actually thinking and doing and worrying about them. And this is really strange. And then you realize, oh my gosh, I really need the association of devotees. I need to be around people who see things differently and think about things differently. So it's important that we remember that. And as leaders, we should also be very careful. Sometimes there's a tendency to think, well, whatever, I'm a 2-year devotee, now I'm senior. I'm a 20-year devotee, now I'm senior. I'm a 50-year devotee, now I'm senior. I'm a sannyasi, I'm a president, I'm a GBC, I'm a guru, I'm a this, I'm a that, and think that we're free from any influence of Maya. As soon as we feel that way, we're in big trouble. So we should always remember that. Story I heard recently that's kind of funny and shocking, was that one devotee who was in a leadership role was asked, I think by a reporter at one point in time, I have to check it out, what's the difference between you and Jesus Christ? And if you can imagine, the response was, about 2,000 years. That person's been gone for 86, 96, 06, 6, 35 years. And I'm sure the Lord's not going to keep him away for 2,000 years. But if I think like that, I probably deserve to be kept away for 2,000 years. So we have to be really careful. It's so easy to become proud. So easy. So I was asked today to share a few thoughts about leadership. So this particular verse talks about two essential leaders for us. The book, Srimad Bhagavatam, and the person, Bhagavat. The devotee and the book are described in Prabhu's purport as they are the remedy to eliminate all inauspicious things from the heart. And I think all of us, as we go on, we realize you clean one layer, you clean another layer, clean another layer in your heart. And I can say for myself, sometimes it's like, I thought I dealt with that 40 years ago. Why is it coming back now? At the age of 7, I'm 70 now, and like, why am I still dealing with issues that I dealt with as a 20-year-old brahmachari? You know, what's the nature of that? And of course we know because our rebelliousness against Krishna, our pride, all these different things run very, very deep. But here it's explained that they all can be removed and eliminated. Prabhupada uses the term, eliminate the obstacles. Eliminate the obstacles by these two things. These are the remedy. Associate with the devotees, especially the very advanced Bhagavata devotees, and associating with the Bhagavatam. So we all have so many obstacles that block us in our spiritual life. We're proud. We feel lust sometimes fear. That's also a block of our surrendering to Krishna. Sometimes there's a lack of faith. Is he really here in this situation? Is he still guiding me and protecting me? Although externally it may seem like there's so little protection is there, so many obstacles and problems. Or sometimes we also have the opposite. We don't feel enough fear. That's also an obstacle. Right? I think Prabhupada said one time that the only problem with my disciples is they're not afraid enough of Maya. So not having enough fear is also a disadvantage. Or being too confident. It's also a disadvantage. Just the difference between you and Jesus, just 2,000 years. It's like, Hare Krishna. So we have the opportunity to receive the association of these great two Bhagavatas. And in ISKCON, actually, we're dedicated to sharing that. I was thinking, sometimes people say, what's the purpose of your mission? I like to refer to the first purpose that Prabhupada gives, to systematically propagate spiritual knowledge, etc., and to promote real unity and peace in the world. Like almost everybody, except people that live in my hometown, they accept that peace and unity is a valuable goal. That was an aside that anybody living in Washington would either laugh hilariously or be totally offended by, so I hope. But yeah, there are people who may not feel that's a very valuable goal, but most people would. We're trying to promote unity and peace in the world. And how we do that is by giving people the association of these two Bhagavatams. Through book distribution, we're giving people the Srimad Bhagavatam and other related literatures. We build beautiful temples like this. Well, why? We don't build beautiful temples so people can come and do a simple puja and ask the deity or the deities, depending on where you go, for material benedictions. That's not why we build these temples. We build these temples so people can come, get the association of the Bhagavatam, get the association of the Bhagavat devotees. We go in Harinam to inject the message of the Bhagavatam into society. We have devotee care. Jai Nitai is here. He's leading our devotee care. We're developing devotee care to help devotees maintain their association with the book Bhagavatam and the devotee Bhagavat so they can make spiritual progress. We have to take the obstacles and the pain and the grief that people experience in this world seriously. And at the same time, sometimes the remedy is to be with people, not necessarily to preach with people, just to show them our love and our support, and that we're going to help them walk this path together to help deepen their faith, that ultimately this is a temporary place, and whatever happiness and distress you're experiencing, ultimately you need the association of the pure devotees. So it's an essential principle for us to take shelter and give shelter of these two Bhagavats. So in ISKCON, We study so many, Prabhupada mentions here Srila Narada Dev, and so many other great personalities we read about in the Bhagavatam and elsewhere. There's one personality who stands out for us as the preeminent Bhagavat, who we should always remember is the preeminent Bhagavat for us, and if we maintain our shelter and our connection to that personality, we will always be safe. Of course, ultimately, Krishna's there. But who is that one person who we have to maintain the central role in our society? And as leaders, how important is it for us to share this with other devotees? Who's that person? Obviously, Prabhupada. It's really nice here. You gave class, Prabhupada's looking like, he's like looking right at you. It's like, wow. Mm-hmm. But he's also very merciful. This deity looks very satisfied with this temple and these deities and all the devotees that are here. And you sit here, he's like looking right at you. It's very, very sweet. So in ISKCON, as you said, one personality stands out. So just briefly, we ask ourselves, well, we're reading here about the Bhagavatam. Who brought the Bhagavatam to the West? Right? Who published it widely? Who had his disciples continuing to distribute it all over the world? Who ordered it be translated into multiple languages? Who wrote all the purports that we're studying every single day? And whose words do we study when we read the Bhagavatam? So who's the preeminent Bhagavat for ISKCON? Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada. So that one personality, as we know, our founder Charya, and we should always try to remember, because sometimes already people are minimizing this. Sometimes people want to say he's our founder, but not necessarily our acharya. They won't say it directly, but indirectly. But we know founder means the person that builds the foundation, right? And oftentimes can go away. I'm sure there was some company here that laid the foundation. They brought big, huge trucks of cement. They laid the foundation, and they're gone. And somebody who maybe reads the history may know such and such a construction firm, they laid the foundation, but they're not here anymore. But Prabhupada's not just our founder, he's the Charya, which means he's the example, and we look to him to see how to deal with various opportunities and challenges that we face. Sometimes there's a tendency in our society, again, it's a leadership meeting, we do hear these voices, well, Prabhupada dealt with that in such a way, but we really need to understand that we go to the Vedas for our source of information. Now maybe we go to a Vedic source that Prabhupada never quoted, or we go to half a verse that Prabhupada never quoted to make our case. But we also have to say, what did Prabhupada do in those particular circumstances? How did Prabhupada deal with this? He has to remain the model and the charya for us. He's really the leader for us. So this is true principle in all our aspects of Krishna consciousness. And of course we know it's not just that we don't want to swing too far the other way. It's not just that we say, well, we follow Prabhupada and he's this island of spiritual presence, that he just, his own realization, his own ideas, his own philosophy. No, he very much, he so many times would say, if I have any credit at all, it's that I'm simply repeating the words of my spiritual master. I haven't changed anything. So very much he's presenting himself, and we understand he's representing so nicely the parampara, and he's connecting us to these different Bhagavats. And we should remember, as now and as time goes by in the future, his essential role. I mean, his murti is there on the Vyasasan, and his picture is on the altar. And we all know sometimes you have to watch this as a temple president. Pujari goes on the altar, they take the picture of their guru, and they leave it there. And it's like, oh, big deal. Well, it is a big deal, actually. Because for everybody else who comes and have darshan, that's not their guru. It's wonderful to see so many sages and sadhus and leaders of ISKCON appreciated on the altar. But that's not their guru. But Prabhupada's picture is there because he is our founder charya. He really is our leader. And it's essential that we not only remember that, but we teach new devotees. The same way we come to this meeting, we get a sense that, wow, we're not just St. Louis or Tucson or Dallas or Detroit. We're part of the North American ISKCON society. It's a bigger picture. It's bigger than us. And of course, we also remember we're part of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. When we go back to our local temples, sometimes devotees don't think this. They think it's me and you and Richmond, right? And whatever we want to do in Richmond, we do. I remember when I was the president in Denver, we had an advisory board, and I remember it's a very, very nice, very sincere members of the congregation, and one devotee wasn't initiated yet, as you'll see, but we were discussing what can we do to increase the Sunday feast to get more people attracted and appreciate the Sunday feast. He said, Prabhu, I have a suggestion. I said, what's that? We should distribute pan. Then suddenly I realized why his teeth were always red. So, I had to kind of thank you, Prabhu, for your enthusiasm. Two positives, right? Thank you for your positive, for your enthusiasm, this idea. Thank you for thinking outside the box. And here's why we can't do that, right? Which ultimately, because it doesn't align with Srila Prabhupada. It wasn't because I don't like pan. I was raised in Michigan. We don't like that stuff. That wasn't the answer. The answer was it doesn't align with our founder Acharya's teaching. So it's essential for us to always make sure we're aligned with our leader, our founder Acharya, and frankly to understand there's maybe 75 people in this room. There's a good chance a lot of you one day in the future, if not already, some of you already, but everybody, most of you in this room, may have your picture on the altar someday. It's not that far away, okay? That's half the formula. The other half is your picture on the altar someday will be taken off the altar, and it will go away. And maybe it'll go in an archive someplace. This was my great-grandmother's guru, and it's with the family photos. And after she or he passes away, again, your name on a list. But Prabhupada's picture is still going to be there. Prabhupada's Murti is still going to be there because he's the founder Acharya. As long as ISKCON survives, he's going to be there. So when we look at leadership, it's important in every aspect that we look at Srila Prabhupada and we see how he dealt with different situations and what was the example that he set. And I was suggested to me recently, don't tell this story in public venues because people will think it's too much glorifying our founder, our tradition, but this is not a public venue. So for us, I will remind you all, if you don't remember, if you haven't seen it, at the 50th anniversary event of ISKCON, we're coming up on the 60th, but at the 50th anniversary event of ISKCON at Harvard University, which is a pretty reputable venue, one scholar who since passed away 2 years ago, Tom Hopkins. Dr. Thomas Hopkins is one of the few that actually met Srila Prabhupada. He was given the keynote address in the Sperry Room. I think they've renamed it, but it's the very room. The Sperry Room is the very room where Srila Prabhupada spoke at Harvard University some 55 plus years ago or so. So Thomas Hopkins, in his introduction, he says, I'm a historian of religions. And we're here to talk about ISKCON 50 years and the contributions of Bhaktivedanta Swami. He said, so in order to do that, we make comparisons. And he said, at Harvard University, as a professor of religion, this is not Anuttama on the Vyasasana in front of a bunch of Hare Krishna devotees at a Hare Krishna temple. This is Dr. Tom Hopkins at Harvard University in front of a bunch of scholars. He said, in order to look at the contributions of Bhaktivedanta Swami, I have to make comparisons. I only see two people in history I can compare his contributions to. Anybody want to guess who those two people are? Think big. Think big. Jesus Christ and Muhammad. Okay? Again, this is a scholar at Harvard. You kind of look around like, you're putting your academic record at risk. And he is. But this is the conclusion of his academic study. He said there's only two people in history, Jesus Christ and Muhammad. He said, but then again, those comparisons aren't fair. He said Jesus was in his own country, speaking his own language, with people his own age to help him. Muhammad was in his own country, his own culture, his own family, and friends were there to help him. He said Prabhupada, Bhaktivedanta Swami, was in a different country, a different culture, a different language, with nobody there to help him, all on his own. Srila Prabhupada ki. So if you want to find that, it's a beautiful video. It's a 17-minute total of the video. If you just Google ISKCON 50th, Harvard University, there's a little 3-minute story ISKCON Desire Tree did about the event. That doesn't include everything, but just go. It's a beautiful video. And there's other references, quotes from different devotees as well as scholars of bhakti and scholars of ISKCON. So it's very inspiring to see that. So we, when we want to, in this context of where this is a leadership meeting, talk a little about leadership. When we want to understand leadership, we need to look to Srila Prabhupada. There's so many examples, but he's the preeminent example of what it means to be a true leader. So we look to him. We read his books to learn about, to get knowledge and to get understanding of how we should lead and how he led. Shri Shri Radha Nilamadava Ki. And we also read books about him. I was speaking with one president this day, and he was saying, I think that we should make the reading of Lilamrita. We want to make the reading of Lilamrita mandatory before initiation. And we were discussing, that's a great idea, it's a great sentiment. It doesn't align with global policy because the GBC's decided we should be careful because sometimes local temples or people who are initiating people, they add or subtract some vows that aren't what Prabhupada gave. And if we're going to keep ISKCON together, we have to keep those vows the same. The mantras need to be the same that you're empowered to chant. The people that receive those mantras have to be the same. So we can recommend, please read Lilamrita. It's a wonderful recommendation. It's fantastic, but we can't make it a requirement. But books about Prabhupada, other biographies about Prabhupada, they're so inspiring for us to read. How did Prabhupada deal with this situation? Personally, a very contemporary issue I think is just so wonderful. Prabhupada one time, and I forget the name of the person or the location, but it's described in some of the histories. A person was living in the temple, and they had male physical features, but they considered themselves a woman. Way back then. These days it's like so common, right? So some devotees were saying, well, you have a man's body, you should live in the men's ashram. Another devotees were saying, but no, your subtle body is female, you should live in the women's ashram. So there was some debate. So they wrote to Prabhupada. Okay, like Prabhupada's going to come up with something transcendental. Well, actually, I can see in your last life, therefore, whatever like that. Prabhupada, like the ultimate leader, and as Bhadranayan Maharaj mentioned, somebody mentioned, was it yesterday or the day before? Prabhupada was so practical. Would you mention that? Prabhupada was so practical. So Prabhupada's answer was, you ready for this one? Just pick one and stick with it. Okay. Maharaj is saying sometimes he come dressed as a woman, sometimes he come dressed as a man. So he was also very confused. So devotees were trying to give him advice. But Prabhupada's just like, he just puts it on perspective. It doesn't really matter, right? What matters is just pick one, stick with it, execute some religious practices, become purified, you realize you're not the body. Because all of us, right? Maybe we're men this lifetime, maybe in the last lifetime we were women, or women this lifetime, last time we're men. Who knows? It's like, does it really matter? No. We got to get out of here. That's what really matters. So Prabhupada's like, let's put it in proper perspective. So, and also Malati mentioned that beautiful book, Bonds of Love, directly talking about Prabhupada's relationship with his women disciples. So important to read, to see how Prabhupada interacted so nicely with his lady disciples. So, Prabhupada is our preeminent leader. He is our leader for all time, for ages to come. And as leaders, we need to understand his example, what he did in certain circumstances, as best we can to understand why he did it. Otherwise, how can we say, as we often do, we have to follow in his footsteps? Well, what were his footsteps? And again, as best we can understand, why did he choose those footsteps? How can we follow if we don't understand those things? So, specifically, we need to look at, as best we can understand, again, his thoughts, his mood. And I thought one thing might be helpful for us, If you can get that ready, put that up. To look at his mood at a very critical juncture of his journey, of his life, and of his mission. Of course, if you think back, Prabhupada had so many critical junctures. There were so many situations that would have stopped a lesser person, or where Prabhupada had, made certain decisions that were like so impactful, not just for him and not just for a handful of disciples, but for the whole world. As we heard the last couple of days, Prabhupada's having impact, continues to impact on the whole world every day. Hundreds of people, thousands of people. Like we're in Houston, so we had Mangalartik at 4:30, but there's Mangalartik in Chicago, in Naperville. I don't know Canadian geography, so what's north of us in the same time zone in Canada? Winnipeg, what else? Okay, but directly in this time zone, right, is Winnipeg and like that. So if you're in LA, they're having Mangalartik at Vancouver, and I don't know, South America, all up and down that time zone. So we may think, well, it's just a few of us in Houston. No, there's like devotees. We should think like that. Sometimes you go to... Yeah, South America, absolutely. Sometimes you think, well, there's only me at Mangalartik and the Majari. There's, 200 people or maybe 500 people. You don't see them. But they're in an ISKCON temple that Prabhupada started right now, singing the same songs that you are. They may sing it a little differently. Yai Yai Prabhupada. Right? If you go south enough, it's not Jai Jai Prabhupada, it's Yai Yai Prabhupada. Right? They may say it a little bit differently. But they're singing glorification of Prabhupada and Krishna. So we should remember that we're part of that impact of that Prabhupada's having. So I just thought, again, this concept of leadership. To look and read this beautiful prayer that Prabhupada wrote September 18th, 1965, right? They don't give the title in that particular version. How do you say the prayer? Who's Bengali here? No, don't sing it. Just say the title. Markani Bhagavat. So the same word, Bhagavat, is there. Yeah, okay. So I thought we read a little bit of this. You can go down to the first verse. Thank you. And this version on the screen has Prabhupada quotes the whole verse in the Bhagavatam. Well, because of lack of time, we're not going to do that whole verse. But I'm just going to share some reflections on when I read this, and of course this is such a powerful poem, and we could study this and look at it from so many different angles. But just a few things from each verse by verse where we can learn about leadership from our preeminent leader, Srila Prabhupada. So he says, is there more than one mic? Is there another mic somewhere? Oh, good. We'll read the first verse, please. Lal Prabhu.
My dear Lord Krishna, you are so kind upon this useless soul, but I do not know why you have brought me here. Now you can do whatever you like with me.
So lots of things we could say in reflecting on this verse. Three things that came to my thought were, one, Prabhupada's utter humility. And again, as leaders, what do we learn from this? If we want to be leaders, we have to be humble. We need to become humble. There's a tendency to think in the material world, if you're proud, you're going to be a great leader. There was one book, I'm looking at Raghunath Prabhu here. There was one book called, I can't remember right now. It was one of the well-known leadership management books, and they went out and they studied organizations that went from very great, good to great was the name of the book. Yeah, great organizations or good organizations that went to great, what happened? And the author mentions in this beginning of the study that they did not want to talk about as just an influence of a person. That they didn't want to, that was the cheap thing, whatever. This one came in, he was a great leader, she was a great leader, made all the difference. But then they added another layer of their study, was not just who took an organization from good to great, what organizations continued being great after that leader left. They said that was the real test of leadership. And I won't mention names, but they mentioned one or two companies where they took over, they were not performing very well. By their presence, they did really great, and then they left and everything collapsed. Okay? Now, as a leader, we may think like that. It all depends upon me. I did such a great job. just see it all collapse after I left. This proves how great I am. No. It proves we're not very good leaders. Because if we're good leaders, it's going to have an impact after we go. So he was making that point. We can see Prabhupada, we're celebrating, right, in 2 years, the 50th anniversary of the departure of Prabhupada's Tirubhav, commemorating that, not celebrating, commemorating that. And we see ISKCON continues to grow. I mean, all of you are examples of that. By Prabhupada's presence, Prabhupada's instruction. That's a great leader. So here he's exemplifying this mood of total humility and dependence on Krishna and also surrender to him. Now you can do whatever you like with me. I'm dependent on you, now you do whatever you like. And we all know as leaders, one day successful, one day not. One day you think you're going to install your deities, the next day you get a letter from the deity ministry. One day you're surrounded by very happy congregational members because we're going to install Radha Krishna, we've been waiting for years. The next day you're telling them, no, it's not going to happen. And here's why. And let's stick together as a team. Right? Those are challenging. So, now you can do whatever you like with me. You can manifest now or you can manifest in 6 months, but I'm surrendered to you. So second one, where's the mic? Please. Just leave it on and you pass it around. As Raghunath was telling us yesterday, spend 5 minutes turning the mic on.
But I guess you have some business here. Otherwise, why would you bring me to this terrible place?
Everybody imagine for just a minute, you're on a ship. Just imagine if you were on a ship by yourself. You're going to a strange country. You had 2 heart attacks on the way over. Your Guru Maharaj told you to go there years and years and years, decades ago. You have your 3 trunks of books. You have your few Indian rupees, that as we all know, you can't even turn into dollars. You're supposed to go to some megatropolis called Butler, Pennsylvania, right? You don't even know where it is. And they're going to put you up for 30 days, and that's it. That's all you have. And they have a free ticket back. That's what you have. And now you're in the harbor, and you're calling out to God, dear Krishna, you know. I guess you have some business here. Otherwise, why would you bring me to this terrible place? So here it makes me think in terms of qualities of leadership, Prabhupada's deep conviction about the futility. I mean, there's many things. Each verse you can explain in so many ways, but just one unique way of looking. His deep conviction about the futility of material life. If we're going to be good leaders, we have to have that kind of conviction, as it says so many places in the Shastra. Why have you brought me to this terrible place? Oh, my computer's not. There it goes. Third one?
Most of the population here is covered by the material modes of ignorance and passion. Absorbed in material life, they think themselves very happy and satisfied, and therefore they have no taste for the transcendental message of Vasudeva. I do not know how they will be able to understand it.
So when we read this, the population is covered, they're absorbed in material life, they think themselves happy and satisfied, they have no taste. Therefore, who wants to associate with these fallen rascal people? They're just a bunch of karmis. Like everything's so beautiful here in Houston, I was a little shocked. You go into the kitchen, it says, these are the standards, you have to do this and this and this, and no karmi clothes. So I was thinking, well, okay, in one sense, that's, karma clothes, right? The clothes maybe you wear to go to do your work. But just this term, karmi, what's that tend to say to us? Do we wear karmi clothes? No, because we're not one of them. But when we think of us and them, you can't really be very compassionate. Here Prabhupada's talking about how it's a terrible place, people are so much covered over, and then he ends this, but how will I share this message with them? So just, this strikes me as his, like we say in the ISKCON leadership course, there's 16 qualities of a good leader. One is service attitude. Just Prabhupada's manifest this. They're so fallen, but how can I serve them? And every one of us, I know you're all challenged day in and day out. Somebody comes and knocks on your door. Maharaj gave the question the other day. Yeah, it's like, there's only so many hours in a day. How many people can I talk to? Right? It's like it's a strain. And sometimes the people that take up the most difficult want to take up the most time. And here Prabhupada is saying he's about to step foot on a whole continent full of people who are, in one sense, you say, are going to waste his time. But in the other sense, because he's come to serve, that he's so much focused in this mood of how can I help them. So next one, let's keep it going this way and get over to the ladies' side at some point. Or he can read, and then we'll go back this way.
Hare Krishna. But I know your causeless mercy can make everything possible because you are the most expert mystic. Hare Krishna.
Okay, I know by your causeless mercy, you can make everything possible because you are the most expert mystic. So, to me that really strikes, I mean, again, so many things could be said about this, but I was trying to meditate on what is one of the many unique things that's said here. He's sharing the credit. He's not saying, Dear Krishna, make me a success, or I will be a success, or my Guru Maharaj wants me to do this, and one of these days my form is going to be sitting in hundreds of temples around the world. People are going to be glorifying my name, Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. He's not thinking for a second. He's just saying, by your mercy, everything's possible. So, as leaders, to what extent do we always remember that it's Krishna's doing, he's the doer, and to what extent are we ready to actually share credit with others as leaders? There's such a tendency, because we're desperate for attention, we're desperate for love, we're desperate for importance. It's because we're missing Krishna. So we try to fill that gap sometimes with a little name and fame. But if we're leaders, we have to make sure we're sharing the credit. It's not I. We gave that list in the other seminar upstairs the other day. What are we doing? What did we accomplish? How can we do better? It's us, this whole sense of team. So sharing the credit. Next one.
How will they understand the mellows of devotional service? O Lord, I am simply praying for your mercies so that I will be able to convince them about your message.
For me, it just struck me, he's probably saying I can't do it alone. I mean, there's similar themes to a lot of these. Like a team player. Devotees, if we're going to be good leaders, we have to build teams. So Prabhupada's thinking, how will they understand the mellows of devotional service? But he has faith that they will do so, and Krishna is going to empower to do it. So we have the same way, we have to have faith that we're going to be able to engage other people in Krishna's service and not think, as Raghunath Prabhu was telling us, that I can do it all. I think you gave the formula, if somebody can do something 80% as good as you should share responsibility. Maybe in ISKCON it's 40%, considering all that we're supposed to do. But you're not going to hit 100%. And they're not going to do it the way you do it. That's a really important thing. We do a little skit in this leadership seminar where the temple president is asking Bhakta, whoever, to go get the permit for Rath Yatra. And he asks him, can I use the temple car? No, I don't trust you with the car. Well, how about the motorcycle? No way I trust you with the motorcycle. No. Well, which office do I go to downstairs to get the permit? Well, you can figure it out. Well, can I have some money to pay for the bus? Well, Prabhu, when I was your age, we were resourceful in Krishna consciousness, et cetera, et cetera. And then at the end, and then he asks him, he goes, okay, I'll do my best. He says, well, thank you, because you are the only one left in the temple these days anyway. So, we have to share the credit, share the resources, share the ability to get things done and be able to delegate responsibility. We have to be team players, which Prabhupada is so much exemplifying. Next one.
All living entities have come under the control of the illusory energy by your will, and therefore, if you like, by your will they can also be released from the clutches of illusion.
So here, Prabhupada, these people, as you mentioned above, it's a terrible place, people are so fallen, but he has his deep faith in Krishna that they will be released from the clutches of illusion. So as leaders, I have faith you will be able to do this task. I have faith you can step up, just like Prabhupada had faith in devotees in so many ways. I mean, as we all know that, so many histories. You go to Germany, you go to Hong Kong, you go to London, you go here, you go there. Is Malati here? I mean, talk about Prabhupada having faith in one of his devotees. Let's give Malati, on her 80th birthday year, a big hand of appreciation. Haribol! You know, when you read that history, it's phenomenal. I mean, you couldn't even live together part of the time. You were together with the other devotees and you're spread apart. You know, 6 devotees in the whole British Empire, and they're supposed to spread Krishna consciousness, right? And does everybody remember the story when they went to Montreal and they asked Prabhupada any special instructions? And Prabhupada told you about a movie, right? At least according to the history. She's looking quizzically, now I'm having doubts. Okay, according to Lilamrita version, maybe they went and they asked Prabhupada any special instructions. So at least one of the special instructions Prabhupada gave, he told them, when I was a boy, I saw a movie, and I think it's Charlie Chaplin. There's another famous silent movie actor, might have been. Jai Shishirada Nilamalava. So Prabhupada described this movie that he saw as a boy, which you may remember. It's a funny story about how this couple were dancing at a ball dance. I think Prabhupada used the term a ball dance. And some naughty boys, when this couple went outside to get some fresh air, some naughty boys had painted glue on the bench. So the man sat down on the bench, and when he stood up, he had his tuxedo on. The tuxedo that ripped, you know, his tails tore all the way up the back. So he went into the men's room to see what had happened, and he realized that his coat was tore. So somehow he got the idea, just tear it the whole way up. So he tore his coat even further. And then he went back with his, I think probably used the term lady friend, and they began dancing very enthusiastically in the middle of the ballroom. And all the other gentlemen thought, oh, this must be the new style. So they all tore their coats. And they began dancing very enthusiastically at this ball dance. And Prabhupada laughed hilariously, and that was his instruction. So at least according to the memory Mukunda Maharaj gives, he said he was a little confused. That was the instruction that Prabhupada gave. And later they realized, take London by storm. You know, you're going to set such an example, you're going to be so unusual, you're going to just attract so much attention, people will follow. And I think, if I remember correctly, that's then when the men were in London, that's when they first shaved their heads. Because they realized that would kind of make a statement. And that was, as according to Shyama Sundar's recollection, his book, Chasing Rhinos with the Swami, that was a big surrender to them. I mean, that was the day of the Beatles, and I mean, long hair was really hip, and to have a shaved head. Sometimes people wonder, well, why did you guys wear wigs in the early days? Well, yeah, because a shaved head there was like Yul Brynner and all the people these days, it was not hip. It was definitely not hip. But so they went and they made this statement, this bold. That was Prabhupada's instruction to them, to be bold. So he was empowering them. So the same way as leaders, we have to be ready to empower others. And if we don't have faith in others, it could mean a couple things. One, we just don't see the potential in others, which is our Krishna consciousness is not very mature. Or two, we're comparing them to a very puffed up idea of who we are. That's pretty much the only two reasons. We don't have enough faith in them, or we're thinking, I'm so good, but that's not a Krishna conscious perspective. Next one.
I wish that you may deliver them. Therefore, if you so desire their deliverance, then only will they be able to understand your message.
So again, so many ways of understanding this, but the thing that kind of struck me is how he's very much aligning his values with Krishna. I wish you deliver them, but only if you wish it isn't going to happen. And I want to align with what you want. I came here to execute your will. If you don't want me to be successful, that's okay. I just want to align myself with you. So again, as leaders, making sure that we're always making sure our values are, as Krishna conscious leaders, are our values aligned with Krishna's. To have that kind of check and balance on ourselves. Next one. The mic is out there somewhere.
The words of Srimad Bhagavatam are your incarnation, and if a sober person repeatedly receives them with a submissive oral reception, then he will be able to understand your message.
How many of us have felt with Bhakta so-and-so, or Mataji so-and-so, or so-and-so Das, or so-and-so Prabhu, whatever, how many times do I have to tell you? Right? Isn't it? How many times do I have to sit through listening to this person, helping this person, trying to help this person? But Prabhupada's saying here, one who repeatedly receives. The words of Bhagavatam are your incarnation. If a person repeatedly receives them, Prabhupada was so ready to repeat for our benefit again and again and again and again and again and again and again. I mean, just imagine, sometimes we go and we visit temples, and I know I experienced in my little effort to serve Prabhupada. You go to one temple, like you come here, it's like, wow, this is really spectacular. And then you go other places and you go, wow, this could be spectacular if we knock it down and start all over again. And it tests your faith a little bit, like, are we ever, but no, repeatedly hears the messages with patience. So this patience is so much a quality of leadership. In this phase of ISKCON, I mean, some of our temples are highly developed, some not so much. But now with 335, we're going to open a whole bunch more centers. Some of us may feel like I've worked for 20, 30 years to establish a place, and now I got to go back 20, 30 years and start from scratch again? In a different role, you're just maybe more a leader, not directly responsible. That's a big surrender. That's like for those of us older, it's really nice to be grandparents because you just go, you see the kids, you laugh, you play, and when they get obnoxious, you leave. But if you're a parent, you don't leave. You got to be there. So to go back and be a parent again takes a lot of patience. A lot of patience. So here I think exemplifies that. Next one.
It is said in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Shri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma.
Oh, we don't want to read this. This is 9, right? Okay, it's very, 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 very long. I'll just read how it's summarized. He will become liberated. Prabhupada's talking about the people that receive the message. He will become liberated from the influence of the modes of ignorance and passion, and thus all inauspicious things accumulated in the core of the heart will disappear. Again, these are Prabhupada's words, Prabhupada's prayer in Boston Harbor. So I think here it emphasizes this point about spiritual vision. As leaders, we have to have spiritual vision. We have to see the potential in people, the potential in other opportunities, the potential in the person you're trying to give a book to, the potential in the people that are walking by with a scoured face, knowing that, well, remember there was a devotee, Charadeshna Prabhu in Atlanta, was in Denver for a short time. I remember him telling me that he had a realization once on Harinam. He was out chanting with the devotees and his devotee. Some guy walked by with a big smirk on his face. Look how kooky you guys look. And he was thinking, yeah, you may smile today, but if you don't do this, you're not going to get out of the material world either. You're going to have to do the same thing one day. So he had that spiritual vision. Okay, 10? Number 10? I think that was 9, wasn't it? I think that was 9. 10, how will I make them understand this message? Oh, it's numbered differently in my version. Okay, let's read this one.
How will I make them understand this message of Krishna consciousness? I am very unfortunate, unqualified, and the most fallen. Therefore, I am seeking your benediction so that I can convince them, for I am powerless to do so on my own.
Okay, so again, Prabhupada's humility, his dependence upon Krishna, and also that he's proactive. I'm powerless to do so, but I'm going to try. We should think like that. You know, the odds may be overwhelming, but I'm going to try. We may be starting new communities, but I'm going to try. We may be dealing with team members that repeatedly let us down, but I'm a leader. I'm going to be proactive. I'm going to try. There may be so many obstacles, sometimes things fall apart behind us. Isn't it? You build something up, you try to develop something, you develop devotees, and they just crumble behind you. And you sometimes kind of think, what's the purpose? But we have to be proactive. We have to be proactive and not give up hope. And I like this expression, I don't know where it comes from, but that we should pray knowing that everything depends upon Krishna. We should act as if everything depends upon us. Anybody know the source of that? Who? The Reformation, Martin Luther. Okay, good. We give credit to a lot of Catholic saints, so we'll give credit to a Protestant one. He wasn't so good on Judaism, but on this one he's good. So we should pray as if everything depends upon God, as we know. But we should act as if everything depends upon us. Though we don't just pray, Dear Krishna, please make it happen, and then we don't do anything. And we shouldn't work hard, and then something happens, we go, look, just see what I did. Right? I'm sure many of you have had more profound experiences than this, but in my own little way, I've had Krishna teach me that. I've been, at least twice, I've been a little kirtans where I'm chanting on the harmonium, and I remember one time I was in India, one of the youth centers, and they're young Indian guys, they're all enthusiastic, and they're overly respectful of old men. So I was chanting the kirtan and just getting a sense like they're so enthusiastic. And I was thinking, how could I ever maintain any kind of humility if I'm doing anything really significantly? I mean, I'm feeling some sense of these guys all appreciate my kirtan. How would I ever be able to do this if there's 1,000 people there, or 5,000 or 10,000 people there? And the next instant, I forgot the next line of the song. Completely lost the song. And I think it was Jai Radhamadava. It wasn't like such a complicated song. And then it was like, thank you, Krishna, I get the message. That's how we remember. Because we're nothing. We're nothing. And only by Krishna's blessing can we do anything. This is the whole mood of this prayer. I'm so helpless. It's up to you, Krishna. So we're trying to be leaders. We're following our great founder, Charya, who's exemplifying leadership for us. So we're learning from his prayers. Okay, a couple more to go. Next one.
Somehow or other, O Lord, you have brought me here to speak about you. Now, my Lord, it is up to you to make me a success or failure as you like.
Yes, again, total dependent upon, well, here's an example, detachment. It's up to you to make me success or failure. You want me to succeed? I'll succeed. You want me to fail? I'll fail. But I'm going to do it either way. I'm detached. I'm just doing it for you. And I will be perseverant. And I'm going to do the right thing no matter what. Next one.
O spiritual master of all the worlds, I can simply repeat your message, so if you like, you can make my power of speaking suitable for their understanding.
Okay. So I like this. I can simply repeat your message in the context of what we learned yesterday on our seminar on leadership in the morning. What's Prabhu describing here? I can simply repeat your message. How many things is he planning to do there? One, which is called a what? He's got a wig. He's got a powerful wig. He's not going to be distracted by all the pigs. He's got a wig. And we all know, it'd be interesting to do a whole analysis of what Prabhupada did in that context of pigs and wigs. Anuttama Maharaj talks about when he first had darshan, met Prabhupada, he specifically mentions he felt Prabhupada had all the time in the world for him. He had that kind of, so that was his in a sense, in your described for us, his wig. Whatever it takes for the 5 people that are coming forward, I'm going to give them every bit of ounce of strength I can. Later, he had to change that. As an example, the wig is, I got to translate the books in the middle of the night because millions of people are going to be benefited from that. If Mukunda Maharaj had knocked on the door at 1 o'clock, maybe Prabhupada would not have said, let's talk, whatever needs to do. So this idea of being focused. Okay, next one.
Only by your causeless mercy will my words become pure. I am sure that when this transcendental message penetrates their hearts, they will certainly feel gladdened and thus become liberated from all unhappy conditions of life.
So he's talked about how it's a horrible place. He's talked about how he's unqualified. And then here he just says, I know it's going to penetrate their hearts and they will feel gladdened. They will become liberated from all unhappy conditions of life. So what's he just demonstrating here as leaders? Genuine concern for others, isn't it? It's not just, well, I'm the temple president, I have to be, I have to deal with you. Or I'm the teacher of the school, I have to deal with these kids, some of whom aren't he's genuinely concerned. Again, example of leadership for all of us, that we have to become the same way. Two more to go, I think. 3 more on that numbering system. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Next one.
Oh Lord, I am just like a puppet in your hands. So if you have brought me here to dance, then make me dance